So, hello, everybody. I'm Peter. Welcome to the Poetry Room at City Lights. For those of you online, hello, hello from all over the world. As always, we are beaming to you from the unceded ancestral homelands of the Ohlone people. Would like to take this moment to offer our respects to those who have come before us as stewards of the land. So, this is a homecoming of sorts. Rusty Morrison is a very dear friend, and we've known her primarily as a publisher of the wonderful Omnidawn books. She is one of the great backbones of literary culture here in the Bay Area, but she's also an amazing poet. And a huge shout out to Black Ocean Books and the wonderful Jonica Stuckey for publishing Risk, a really wonderful collection. And we are so happy to be celebrating it here today. We have not seen each other, I think, since before the pandemic. Yeah. And of course, also joining her tonight is Ma Xian-Wen, another dear friend, somebody else who's also read here before, and we've hosted, who's lovely and wonderful, and has two great books out as well. We've got The Invisible Gifts and Storage Unit for the Spirit House. So, and yes, and Omnidawn, yeah, and Manic Tea, because we got Manic Tea in the room too. John Longy's here. So it's a party. So really such a great pleasure. Ma's going to go on first. And for those of you online, you will have signed copies. If you want them, you got them. I posted links, use the links to buy them. And here comes Ma.
Thank you, Peter. Wonderful to be here. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Peter. I've probably said this before, but I'm going to say it again. City Lights is so near and dear to my heart. And so it is a double thrill to be reading with Rusty at City Lights. So I am so excited about Rusty's book, Risk. I think you should all buy a copy or two and support indie bookstores and small presses that need a lot of support right now. And this first poem is for Rusty. Catalyst. Svota. The existence of thought without words. A sack of skin is a meaning sack. Right from the neck, hole in the gut, fur on the arms. Cold today, soft socks, back, ugh. Note, slow growth of eyebrows. Warm germs slip through the screen into mouth rooms. Gestural habits. Legs no bed's edge, hands to banister. Some dappled waters. Silver tempers. Paint, circles, thought. Thank you. So I have a new book coming out in the fall, which I'm really excited about, Omnidawn, called Percussing the Thinking Jar. And this is one of the poems. Catalog. Apply anti-itch cream on scar as if no one is looking. Message from Dropbox that storage is full. Jot down floating weeds, breakaway props. Worry about mom in hospital. Doctor draining 1.5 liters of fluid from her lungs. Look up meaning of shim, then wild wall. Make lemon ginger tea. Text friend who can't move from bed. Read about latest drive-by shooting. Snip dead daisy petals. Think of my students in Yangon, unable to leave their homes. Note number of white hairs falling on black sweater. Remember found nests on last week's walk. Write on back of envelope. Grief broke up visions of ourselves. So I wanted to say a little bit about percussing the thinking jar. In spring of 2020, I started keeping a series of notebooks. Does anyone ever go to Daiso? Oh, okay. So you can get all these amazing notebooks, and they're like $1.75. So I have hundreds of them filled with observations, questions, dreams, sensations, overheard language, and thoughts. And so pretty soon I just had stacks and stacks of notebooks, and I started looking through them. And from these multiple notebooks, I just noticed that I had patterns, like, and it wasn't even, it was more like automatic writing. It wasn't even intentional, but I noticed that I was writing in patterns of twos and threes. So I was having these two-word juxtapositions, but I'd write three of them. And there were just hundreds of them, which we'll see soon, here soon. And so I invented a form called a thought log. So I'm going to read one of my thought logs. Thought log. Dad knew he was going to die because he saw two vultures that morning. Suitcases breaking open display queen conch shells. Apparition of snapped bone trees. Cataflappa, flam drag, triple stroke roll. The suburbs are sinking. I record my mood shifts and flares in a notebook. Floating holidays, cement memories, hot tub religion. Dream bigger than an airstream. The neurologists will return in an hour. Goat rentals for hillsides. Identify your top 3 unhelpful thinking styles. Surveillance jammer, sleeping lags, default salad. Bloodline from a Burmese monarch. My dentist used a percussion test to replicate my tooth pain. Baby jumping, beetle fighting, extreme ironing. Drink watermelon juice to quench your inner fire. Thank you. I have to say that those 3 things I noted, baby jumping, beetle fighting, and extreme ironing, I found those because I Googled weird hobbies. I was just like, oh my God, extreme ironing? That's not a hobby that I'm going to have. But okay. Wetlands. Otter and mink roam the fen. I don a vest of moss. Cormorants, curlew, call from the bog. I avoid the beehive. Sea trout, poker, swim through the marsh. I consult my mood ring. How do I feel? Sedges and saltbush. The bobcats are disappearing. I cry at all the right times. Hi, Peggy. Okay. And this is entitled Entries. Hello, Nightlight. Hello, Schemer. I feel a shift under the chair. I drape, then dollop. I restore my surface with blue and green stitches. Entry. Apple core, rust towel, carving spoons, wolf pouch, cap racks. I smell trouble born. I am lichen. I darn, then damage. Sleep on a pixel quilt. Quit my job before it begins. Entry. Sugar scrub, joy gush, dorsal spin, popperlock, snow lake. I go salmon shopping. When I was 6, I wandered into a virtual valley. I dropped, then dripped. Near the flood, on the asphalt, I saw liquid tricks. Entry, dizzy blister, sunny buckets, timber knocks, uncle's teeth, blaze swells. I keep my distance from the cult. I have a hidden life. I disco, then distill. Blankets are dresses these days. I lick my palms dry. Entry, vortex drift, amber chamber, water rabbit, ox feathers, chatterhead. I am an introspective paradox, a jade swan. I dabble, then dipstick. Watch the royals flash their pretty forks. I am my own clone for now. Goodbye, trumpet of death. Goodbye, softy. Entry, chanted robes, dolphin beavers, vested beasts, vesper flux, pressure switch. I close my eyes and tap the lid. Thank you. It's weird, I know. Okay. And this poem, this very short poem, is for my dear friend Annabelle Port. Observation log. Warmed a nest in my balmy palm. Placed it back in its ginkgo tree. Turned aside and took rest for a while. Thank you. Okay, this is entitled Grapefruit Log. Can you see a theme? Yeah, okay. One year I ate a grapefruit. Let me start over. One year I ate a grapefruit every day. My husband is allergic to grapefruit. After surgery, I examined 3 scars on my abdomen, 1 above my navel, 2 longer incisions to the right and left, wingspan of a sparrow. My ovarian cyst was the size of a grapefruit. In 1964, Grapefruit, a book of instruction and drawings by Yoko Ono, was originally published in a limited edition of 500 by Wundernaam Press in Tokyo. Lying on the surgical table, heated blanket across my body, I remember the surgeon holding the complete dramatic works of Samuel Beckett. Startling and comforting. In post-op, I notice he has shaved his 3-inch beard. Cut piece from Yoko Ono's Grapefruit. Cut. This piece was performed in Kyoto, Tokyo, New York, and London. It is usually performed by Yoko Ono coming on the stage and in a sitting position, placing a pair of scissors in front of her and asking the audience to come up on the stage one by one and cut a portion of her clothing anywhere they like and take it. The performer, however, does not have to be a woman. This morning, I check my wingspan in the mirror. Layers of healing, a disappeared bruise. My friend gave me a grapefruit. I sliced it. Thank you. So now I'd like to read just a few poems from Storage Unit for the Spirit House over there. And this is entitled Sky Space 2. Found round stone in gutter. Felt lighter. School bus arrived. Stone remained in center of palm. Pink sky through window. Oval cloud. Felt stone in palm and recalled a father who held a mug made of gold. Wallpaper in dining room, a forest to wonder. Counted people on sidewalk. Girl pulling wagon under freeway overpass. Stone cold in hand. Girl cold in air. Gold forest. Thank you. I don't mind clapping. Okay, this is called Sky Space 3. A limited edition. Annotated records for the researchers. Referred to footnotes about the survivors. How they lived, how they moved, how they breathed. Open door and let sky inside. Thank you. Another short poem from Storage Unit. Who has a storage unit? Someone? Oh, it's an awful thing. It's an awful thing. Theater in 3 acts. Where are the minnows? Song of gongs and mini mall. What happens to the body after soliloquy? Mine in mottled fur coat. When does the future arrive? Birthmark on forehead in shape of flame. Thank you. And it's my last poem, and I'd like to end with a thought log. Thought log. Almond bangs, hasty babies, sparrow blurs, guilt pancakes at your service. Mind shag, vein stud, botch cradle. Neurosurgeon removes section of skull to access aneurysm. Fear does not define me. Attorney cat, loose mittens, trope harvest, smothered with feathers. Color psychology for film directors. A pots and pans protest banging through the night. Eelgrass, pickleweed, cattails. Computer code and the sickly world of soap operas. Touch me not. Does the writing shed light on the issue of mania curatives? Capricorn underworld. Scout locations for our punk rock retirement home. Enter the magic outside. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you.
How's that? Is that good? All right. It's a pleasure to be here with friends and everybody on Zoom who I can't see. Hi. Such a pleasure to read with Ma. You know, I was thinking as you were reading the thought logs, especially the last one, how it's like looking at a dark sky and then there's a flash of a fireworks, but you don't see it. You just see this explosion. And when those 2-word lines hit, it's like this explosion and then it dissipates. And there's another one. And there's another one. So it's lovely to read with you. And such an honor to be here at City Lights. I mean, what a place to read. I mean, I feel the resonance of so many poets, so many writers who I have read for years who were here. And look there, it's Lawrence Ferlinghetti looking over my shoulder. It's a little awe-inspiring. And Peter, thank you for all that you do for presses, for authors, for book publishers, and for all of the readers here. I mean, this space, hi Melissa, this space is phenomenally important, and I hope it will be here forever. Thank you. So I'm going to say a little bit about the syllable counting constraint that I used in Risk. And you won't be able to hear the syllable counting constraint as I read the poems. You shouldn't. I wouldn't want to have your experience of what I'm saying implicated or impacted by the syllable constraint. But the point for me as I wrote the book was to free myself, to alter the ways that I tend to put language down on the page. I wanted to break that frame. And the constraint I used is this: 7 syllables is one segment. And if at the end of the segment, the word has another syllable hanging fire, that doesn't work. So I have to go back in and revise that syllabic. And if I get that one right, and then I go to the next one, and that one won't work, I sometimes have to go back to the preceding one to get that. And sometimes I'm halfway down a page and something's working, and it seems to be working, and then I can't make it work. Sometimes I have to recommit to the whole poem. And so meaning changes. And I find a deeper meaning that I didn't know I could write about. And it offered me this constraint and opportunity to understand that my typical way of seeing the world, ego-driven, is not necessarily the way the world is. And the poems teach me that. So, and some poems fell apart and live in a doc file, and who knows, I may return to them. They're waiting. So, a caterpillar. Here's a caterpillar on this beach where you walk a long way from shrubs. How did it crawl so far? You carry it back from the waves and gently pitch it toward wild grass. Haven't you been waiting for a hand to pick you up, toss you into a future that would be soft and welcoming? Last night's storm tossed a bare branch onto your porch. Its 3 limbs were all pointing together toward nothing. But you wanted to ask it how to go there, toward nothing. You listen deep in the hollow at the core of the branch's quiet for an answer. How far down will it let you travel before it's too narrow to go? Some silences stay wide. You watched for a long time after your mother's silent mouth fell open at death. It called to you with its quiet, but you wouldn't answer. Now you carry that refusal in everything you don't say to anyone, in everything you don't say to yourself. Narrow negotiations. Some of these poems are very narrow, and the syllabics just fall down the page. Pine needles, dead on the limb, blur as wind shivers them loose from their outlines for a split instant, and then each one snaps back. Wind is a workshop of freedoms that only intuition turns kaleidoscopic, which then can be perceived. What is it you've been dead to within yourself? Your outline is breathing. Look. See a world of new lives form, the death in you, fertilized to let each instant you live riot with new frequencies. That was a hard one, let me tell you. That one was like 6 days, or more. Narrow negotiations. You lie under the covers, the window wide for any breeze. Better than sleep, to be deep in night's tall grass. Silence isn't ruined, but advanced by a frog's guttural echo of your forgotten desire to be an animal made permeable by the sounds outside that ears often can't apprehend. The noise when sentience rips through night's starless cover that shifts what day it is. The frog hears and it comes investigating. Okay, I'm not nervous. No wild poppies in your weeds. Exhaust yourself waiting and watching. A kind of watching that's like lying down in what should be a margin between you and death. You believe death is a long way on the far side of growing things. You need to watch the soil instead. You need to see how volunteer seedlings of foxgloves only grow where other plants have died. Every plant needs death to eat, or it will starve. Starving is the only option that some have. You try the latest hair gel in order to stiffen up against worse damage you might do to yourself. But stiff hair will seed in itself harm that advertisements won't admit. Denying how easily brittle fears will break you if you let them, that doesn't help. You spend every spare hour watching from your window, not letting yourself know what you're waiting for. Then you glimpse an orange color, one wild poppy, then another. All are holding the echo of sunrise, chiming a pale luminescence, even hours after sunrise and into afternoon's heat. A mind can wait for decades for a little color that it had never let itself recognize. You watched as your friend lived wildly into her dream and then into her death in the ways she'd never lived for her whole lifetime. Will you wait that long? Thank you. Narrow negotiations. Chaff of today's news cycle. But you meant to write chafe, not chaff. Walk into this sudden field you've created of husks because you have work to do. Winnow away the thick husk of your expected direction. Find her eyes there. There was a woman last month who sat down on the BART seat across from you. Her bloodshot eyes were chaos. Your chaos is bloodshot too. Memory is a fertile field of your archived emergencies. Watch how she watches no one. That no one is you. You rub. I love that title. Then I had to write a poem, right? And I got this one. You rub the just picked poppy petal between thumb and first finger until orange is your prisoner. It's just like squeezing yourself between one political act and the next, leaving just trace color. Hard even to recognize as an adaptation you once thought would breed safety. But a compressed petal isn't pretty. Is pressure really your ally? Does exerting force always put you in charge? You have sex under tight sheets just to feel how skin is such a thin containment for what's been dispossessed inside you, as the sheets too easily give way. Orphaned in air. Sometimes you close your eyes and spit over the side of the world, any world. You open them and see there's a dampness on your lover's face, residue of hot tears that he won't wipe away. The air is thick with steam. It is a mirror of what bodies are, just heat and surrender. You are excess, but you don't know it. Will you feel it when you turn into pure static, sweetly pungent as heated tar? One more. Narrow negotiations. It seems a risk to recall that you dreamt of a drumbeat in a fresh burial ground. The rhythm was a kind of receptor. But what is it you want to receive? Birds use receptors to find holes in the sky so as to vanish from the present to the past and find a safer home. Gnats spin holes in the air and slip through to where they just were. How much better if you could live each instant as if it was already behind you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rusty. Thank you, Ma. And thank you all for joining us. Those of you online, see you soon. Thanks again for joining us as well. And